Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:01 p.m. and a quorum of the members is present. So the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District in New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Helmer.
Here.
Mr. Kurth. Here. Ms. Manley.
Here for my last time.
Oh, I know. Ms. Schulz.
Here.
Ms. Unger.
Here.
Ms. Wondercheck.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Madam President, I move to recess into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, 1C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statute to consider A, student early entrance appeal, B, adjourn to executive session for deliberation.
Second.
The employment.
Oh, and employment conversation, there's a whole bunch
There's
of.
two more. Yep,
The
sorry.
employment conversation pertaining to staff, and to discuss preliminary notices of non-renewal.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Ms. Manley. We are, I'm sorry, please take the roll.
Mr. Kurth. Yes. Ms. Manley. Yes. Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Mr. Helmer.
Yes.
Ms. Schulz.
Yes.
Ms. Unger.
Yes.
Ms. Wondercheck.
Motion passes. We are moving into closed session and return to open session around 7 o'clock. It is now 7:16, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all who are able, please rise. And now, for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we'll have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the city library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal-Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. We begin tonight with recognitions. So we have some special recognitions. The first one is the Career Exploration Partnership Spotlight. But unfortunately, we received notice that the person who we were going to present it to is under the weather, so it will be delayed to a future meeting. And then next is the World Affairs Seminar Scholarship recipients.
So we'll have Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning, Kelly Kwiatkowski, present on behalf of the Rotary as well as the recipient.
Hi, it's my pleasure tonight It's my pleasure tonight to introduce the two students who the Rotary and the School District of New Berlin are sending to the World Affairs Seminar this June. So our first award recipient is Laura Stadler from New Berlin Eisenhower, and the second is Faith Lopez from New Berlin West. Faith couldn't make it tonight, but she did say thank you to both the School District of New Berlin and the Rotary. And I'm here with Dr. Art and Grove from the Rotary, and this is Laura. So some things that stuck out about Laura's essay, and I've read a lot of essays over the years, and hers really did stick out. She talked about the pandemic and the impact on her and the impact of what she saw giving back to the community during it. So she talked about food banks, soup kitchens, giving back by making masks, and how important it was for young people to truly understand the global perspective and how others impact and perceive things. So thank you, Laura, for a great essay, and thank you, Faith, for also a great essay. We're excited to send her to the session, which is Cities, Urban Life in a Changing World. This one is actually going to be 100% virtual, so it should be interesting. I know you will represent us well, so thank you to the Rotary, and thank you for applying. We're really excited that you're representing us. Thank you.
Would she like to say a word?
Yeah, she can.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to representing School District of New Berlin, at the World Affairs Seminar in the summer. So thank you.
Yeah, just a little explanation of the World Affairs Seminar, which will be held for a week at the Carroll University in Waukesha. In the week's time, about 35 different countries are represented. So when they have face-to-face time, it's really it's just an unbelievable experience for the students to get to know kids from all over the world. And I'm just so thankful that we have the opportunity to sponsor two of the high school students from New Berlin. And thank you for Chuck and Ann for raising such a wonderful daughter.
Thank you and congratulations. Our next recognition is going to Susan Manley. our longtime member of the board. We are very sad to see her go. She's been with the board for a very long time. Let me go through and list some of your accomplishments during the years. So we recognize Susan's commitment to the school district, having served on the board from 2005 to 2008 and 2009 to this year, serving as your clerk during school years 2005 to 2006, 2013 to 2014, to 2018 to 19, and also as vice president for 2019-2020. She has served on the Personnel Committee since 2019 and also served on the district's Budget Balancing Task Force in 2019 as one of our board member liaisons. So we really do appreciate her service, and we have a very special recognition award to give her.
It's just been an incredible honor to serve on the New Berlin School Board for 15 years, so yes, I'm old. But I'm profoundly grateful to the voters who've entrusted me with this privilege. It truly is. During my tenure, lots of change. I can't even begin to share. We used to get our packets dropped off at our houses. Now we get them electronically, right? Just to name a few big things. But during that whole time, the one thing that's never changed is the district's commitment to educational excellence. And certainly the remarkable parent and community support. We're just in an incredible district. Joe, your entire administrative team, I mean, you guys are just top notch. And the exceptional teaching and support staffs are a treasure to our community. I've had the good fortune to see firsthand the tireless effort to ensure that continual elevation of the student experience and the achievements continue to increase year after year. I mean, it's truly extraordinary. And board members, it's been wonderful to work alongside each of you. While we don't always agree on everything, I've personally learned a great deal from each and every one of you, so thank you for that. I wish you continued success and appreciate your hard work and dedication to our school district and to our community, so thank you.
All right, next is privilege of the floor. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for you to come and voice your concerns to the board. So please do not be offended when we listen quietly. We may even take notes. We do not immediately respond to your questions and comments. This is a time for you to talk and us to listen. Thank you for coming to voice your comments and concerns. When I call your name, please step up to the microphone, address the chair, and state your name and whether or not you are a resident in this school district. Each presentation will be restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. Privilege of the floor will be limited to 1/2 hour. Presentations are not to be designed for purposes of engaging others in a debate in this forum. Discussion of certified, classified, or professional personnel or of individual board members shall not be considered an appropriate topic for this forum, and the speaker will be ruled out of order. First up, we have Leah Demmel.
Hello, Leah Demmel, and I'm a school district of New Berlin parent and a resident of New Berlin. This is regarding, since we're going to be discussing the social studies curriculum, it's along the lines of the diversity and inclusion curriculum. So, Burlington, Cedarburg, Elmbrook, Wauwatosa, New Berlin, and many other cities nationwide. All these school districts have recently been accused of racism issues. Many have received petitions similar to the one received by our district, from alumni and students demanding critical race theory and identity politics to be implemented to correct racism. Is this a coincidence? Do all these schools have widespread racism problems? Or is this an attempt at political indoctrination? I believe it is a regional and national agenda to implement partisan politics into public schools. Critical race theory suggests that American society is inherently racist. There are many systems of oppression, including law enforcement, healthcare, and education as examples. Supposedly, Caucasian people have white privilege and must recognize that, including children. Progressives wish to create a more equitable and collective society. This movement is about acclimating people to the concepts of socialism in the name of racial justice. What used to be outlandish theories taught in college classrooms are recently being promoted in K-12 education with zero research on effectiveness or risk to our youth. This is scary. Young children and teens are still developing their self-esteem and identities. It's crazy to propose a potentially harmful curriculum for children regardless of what surrounding school districts are doing. Because if this is implemented, we cannot easily undo psychological, self-identity, and self-esteem damage to children. School board members, please pause and do what is right for our children, not what is the modern ideology. Sometimes new ideas are not always good ideas. Non-negotiable training modeled after Elmbrook School District has been mentioned in at least 2 of our district's board meetings. There are aspects that use critical race theory and identity politics language and book selections. New Berlin should not adopt this training. I would also like to thank the superintendent and school board for the impressive presentation on diversity and inclusion during the March 22nd board meeting. I believe our school district is already doing so much in the area of diversity and inclusion. The statistics presented seem to show that we have made much progress. We are a wonderful school district with a focus on college readiness. That alone is integral to our student success of all races. Regarding diversity and inclusion, I think that should definitely include special needs children in addition to race. I clearly see that our fiscally responsible district uses resources where they are needed. Although there is always room for improvement, I would like the superintendent and board to recognize how great our district is. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Jeanette Nowak.
Jeanette Nowak, I'm a New Berlin resident. Thank you. I personally believe administration and staff need to have a multiple-year plan to teach how to be culturally responsive with history lessons, use restorative practices, and how to modify the curriculum to expand on topics, along with how to facilitate conversations that will be uncomfortable, and how to build trust with students of color, LGBTQ, and those who feel unsafe for other reasons. So I'm in a feelings place, and I just want to share a little bit more about me and why I've been coming and very passionate about education and students and them having that wide, broad knowledge. I'm a proud MPS special education teacher of 5 years who teaches middle school students on the alternate curriculum that are identified with intellectual disabilities of IQs of 55 and below. I currently teach students that are Black, Hispanic, Asian, Muslim, and mixed races. I have received nothing but high scores on my evaluations at the end of the year, and I'm always visiting my students in their homes at least once a month and reaching out to the community for donations to help out my students and their families. And personally, New Berlin has been doing a great job of helping my students, and I've been blessed. I personally am getting a little bit more and more upset with New Berlin and Elmbrook, but primarily New Berlin. So MPS trains and expects teachers to teach with cultural responsiveness, equity, and keeping cultural practices at the forefront, at least at my school. And MPS has long taught this way, but if a suburban district with the majority of white demographics realize that they need to keep up with the educational practices, and yes, this is being taught in college universities. I'm a proud Cardinal Stritch alumni, and this is how they educate their current teachers going into the field. So then why so much retaliation here in New Berlin? It makes me really disgusted that there is so much hate in people's hearts. And as an educator to a diverse group of amazing children, it makes me so outraged hearing how Black, Indigenous people of color are not worth learning about, especially when it comes to historical accuracy taught in the majority of white districts, and how I have to face my students for hours a day, looking at them and knowing that there are people out there who care less about them and their history. I have to teach my students about people with hate in their heart and how to navigate to stay alive. I have to teach them how to act around police and when they leave outside their neighborhood. Why? Because I want them to live and to be treated with kindness and to be functional in our world. These are conversations that I have to have all the time, but New Berlin doesn't. There are conversations such as the wars, genocide, human trafficking, domestic abuse, child abuse, women's rights, unfair treatment in legal systems, her story, and being woke about our world. That is what our students really need to learn about. Just because this doesn't happen in New Berlin doesn't mean it's not happening everywhere. And it is very important for them to know, especially if they want to be future leaders in a career and college-ready world, that they're educated with that world lens and perspective and not going out there being unaware of what's going on. So if you want your students to be successful, then they need to know this, especially in their future career field, politics, teachers, whatever it may be. These are all very important and not just in the bubble of New Berlin. So thank you very much. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Next is Scott Yent.
Bench, and I'm a 27-year resident of New Berlin. My comments to you tonight have to do with increasing public participation in these meetings. We run into a bit of a paradox in this regard because few people attend on a regular basis, but when something compels them to do so, their participation is not met with the welcome that is deserved. In fact, I tried to attend the March 22nd meeting and deliver comments to you at this podium, but I was not able to because of your attendance restrictions. If only we had an auditorium in this building capable of holding everyone who wanted to participate. That said, I'm glad to be able to address you now because I think the public wants to participate at a greater level, and it would be a mistake to lose the value that opportunity presents to you. It is in your power to show them that you encourage their participation by providing more ways for that participation to happen. Currently, this time period is the only time the public has to address you and have any say in the ongoing activity of the school board. If I were interested, for example, in one of the agenda items tonight, say the item labeled Discuss and Approve Policy 5630 Corporal Punishment, this is my only opportunity to let you know what I think about what you're about to discuss and approve. Except that I have no idea what the proposed changes are to Policy 5630. The board doc site only lists the agenda item with no supporting documentation. That gives me no way to provide you with any useful perspective or guidance. There are two opportunities with this example. You could list the proposed changes to Policy 5630 in the board docs agenda so that we could review them and comment during privilege of the floor or by email before the meeting. Second, you can modify your public comment policy by welcoming input from the public on listed agenda items during the meeting. A neighboring benchmark school district does this by allowing public statements, quote, prior to voting on action items or prior to close of board discussion. The board president will call the name submitted on the form. Requests to make these statements are done similar to how privilege of the floor is done here now. Making these two simple changes would improve public participation by welcoming the perspectives and feedback from the community you are tasked to serve. These aren't new and revolutionary changes because they're being done successfully by at least one other school district. If you are serious about wanting more people in these chairs at these meetings, please consider making changes such as these to make those people feel welcome and useful. I think you'll find the rewards outweigh the effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, President's Message. I actually was planning on mentioning this, but between meetings, there is another way to contact the school board and put in your comments, questions, or anything like that, and I just wanted to remind everyone of that. When you go to the school district website and you go to the board page, at the top, you can contact the school board members through an I-form. So please feel free to send your comments and questions through the I-form at any time on any subject. If you want to reach any of us individually, all of our individual board member emails are there, as well as our school district voicemail phone numbers. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. That is my only message for this evening, so we can move on to the administrative report. First up, secondary student representative update.
Thank you. So spring sports are wrapping up their contact days at West as they head into the real season. Teams are finding many ways to get better and get ready, even facing COVID protocols. Multiple student athletes have recently tested into the higher weight clubs in the after-school lifting program. Many of our Viking basketball players received all conference awards for their seasons, including Megan Schultz, Kayla Garney, Megan Church, Jackson Hoyer, Noah Daniels, and Nate Yacht. West held a successful Spring Spirit Week with outfit lottery winners receiving prizes every day and a pep rally with dodgeball games, a cheer and pom performance, crowning of the Crystal Ball King and Queen, and the announcement of the 2021 prom court. The West Theater Arts program held a successful tribute to musical theater to perform specific highlight scenes of different shows. NHS hosted an Easter extravaganza with an egg hunt and other activities for the families of New Berlin. New Berlin West Combined Stress Less Week is coming up. Activities will include food trucks, therapy dogs, an outdoor walk, arts and crafts, and yoga. Green-colored bracelets will also be sold to raise money for a mental health organization. DECA recently raised $293 to donate to the Muscular Dystrophy Association by selling shamrocks. Micaiah Kukis and Maria Radish were winners of the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese 2021 poster contest. Students in grades 7 through 12 participated in the digital No Place for Hate tour focused on positive communication and relationships with others. Students in grades 7 through 10 will participate in Forward and ACT Aspire testing on April 28th, and advanced placement students will be reviewing for their upcoming exams with their instructors. Plans for prom, senior awards, and graduation are all continuing forward, and we're looking forward to these events. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's update.
I do have a few updates. I just, after coming back from spring break, we've had time to reflect. Not only as a parent, I've got a senior and a junior already. Susan, you've got another graduating senior. So lots of things happening and lots of things moving. As Emily just mentioned, we've got a lot of great things happening in our school district. And I'd be remiss again to talk about the level of effort and what we've been able to do as a school district to keep our schools open since the inception of the start of the school year. And it's been quite an accomplishment, to say the least. The fact that some districts, even now, don't even have their kids back in school yet is a testament to the work that we've done and the leadership that's been provided and guidance provided by the school board. So I'm completely overwhelmed at that reflection. Again, recognizing that again, some districts aren't even back in full session with their students. When we talk about equity, that's actually one of the biggest inequities that I see in our lifetime in public education, the fact that kids aren't back in school right now. I'm absolutely ecstatic that we've been able to provide that opportunity for our students. At the same time, I'm also happy that we were able to provide a virtual option for the families that wanted it. And as the data have shown, we've closed that gap. We had last spring, we had learning loss, we experienced it. The data are showing that we've closed that gap and that the rigor of the online option that we are providing is just as well as the opportunities that we have for our students in our buildings. And so I had time to reflect over the last week, and again, we've come a long way. And certainly, I'm kind of tired of the pandemic. I think many of us are. And some of the questions that I have recently gotten, not many, but some, are when are we going to start loosening some of the restrictions that we've put upon ourselves? I don't know. What I will tell you is this. We have from the start of the school year, we have followed the guidance of the Waukesha County Department of Health. I am not a health expert. I'm the superintendent of the school district. And our health agency is the Department of Health at the county. And so, for example, one of the questions I've received recently is, now that the mask executive order was overturned, what does that mean for the school district? Well, the county is telling us that we should stay masked up. The county is telling us to continue to stay safe, to stay open. And there's no way that I could recommend to the board to do something different. I just don't feel that that would be appropriate, especially at this time. Now, again, we've come a long way, but there's still a lot of questions. It's a divisive topic, quite honestly, whether we should be masked or not. But again, I can only rely upon what our local experts are telling us, and that's to stay masked at this time. Could that change next week? It could change tomorrow, actually, with the way this pandemic has gone. It could change at any time. But again, that is my recommendation based off of the county's guidance. And so, the other thing too is to take steps back when COVID cases are on the rise right now. I'm not sure that would, again, I'm sure that the county's taking that into consideration. We also have a lot of things at stake. Sometimes a little bit of a sacrifice. I'd rather have a bit of a sacrifice than not, to make sure that our kids are in school. For example, Emily mentioned we've got AP testing coming up. We've got another round of ACT testing. These are high stakes opportunities for our students. We've got a prom coming up. And, so if we're reducing the mitigation efforts that have gotten us this far, and again, if the county is not suggesting otherwise, I have to recommend that we stick with their guidance. Do I want to tell you that I'm done with the masks? Yes, that's what I would love to tell you, because then I can wear my glasses when I talk. Because right now I can't see you, but that's okay. But point being is that we've come a long way. We should be very proud. My hope is that I can work with the county should nothing change between now and the end of the school year, as far as what their guidance is. I want to work with them at least come the summer, so that when we do have summer school, that maybe we try and do something different, because now you don't have as many kids, that could be impacted. So that's something that I will be working with Kelly as far as the summer school, our summer school efforts. I'll be pushing the county, because there are some questions that I have, some things that I've read, like, Texas and Florida have done away with the masking requirements, and some districts have chosen not to continue to wear masks, and they've been successful. So then what does that mean for us? And so I would challenge the county health department on that as well. And what I've been getting as of late from them is that there's not enough research around these variants to be able to determine the impact that those variants will have on the spread of COVID-19. Which again, for me, again, if it were up to me, I'd do away with masks, I'd do away with social distancing, I'd get rid of the one-way hallways, I'd get the lunchrooms back to where they need to be. But that's, ultimately that's not up to me. I have to rely on the health department to make that guidance on our behalf. So really, that's the biggest update that I have related to COVID-19. I will be providing an update to families related to that. Also know that the county, while we're not making a push, just like we did for staff, we offered the opportunity for a vaccine. The county is offering opportunities for students that are 17 and older to have that opportunity. And so we'll include some of that information. We've had some, again, I've got a 17 and 18-year-old, so we've had some interesting conversations at home about the vaccine as well. So with that concludes my superintendent's update. And finally, I would like to thank Susan as well. Susan, you and I have been here about the same time, but you were on and off there for a little bit. Susan was on the board when I was initially hired. We certainly have come a long way, and I'm extremely proud of the work that you've done on behalf of the school board. I've seen it, I've seen almost every day of it, and really want to thank you for everything that you've done on behalf of the board leadership, and wish you all the best of luck as you look on to bigger and better things.
Does anybody have any questions? We would just limit them to informational questions. Okay, then we'll move on. Up next is the consent agenda, which includes the notice and the approve of minutes of March 22nd. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, I'm sorry, a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer. I did forget to ask if there was anything that needs to be pulled out separately for consideration, which I'm assuming not. Okay, so any discussion on this? Hearing none, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Motion passes. On to our regular agenda. First is school update from Orchard Lane.
I'd like to introduce Principal Royce Lindner, along with Associate Principal Julie Cater.
Good evening, everybody. It is really great to be in front of all of you this evening. Before we get started with our Orchard Lane update, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to return to building leadership. It has been it's been a very unique year, to say the least, but it's been absolutely wonderful. And also I want to thank you for the opportunity to work side by side with Julie in a building leadership capacity. She's absolutely wonderful at what she does, and I feel very, very fortunate to be able to share that responsibility with her. To get started, we wanted to share really part of our goals with you. And the first goal that we have is really built around literacy, like many of our other elementary schools are. What we're looking at is a growth goal that's really built on 4 different indicators. We didn't want to limit ourselves to just one indicator when it came to measuring our students as readers. So we have 4 different ones, one being our math test, the other really being our reading levels that we look at throughout the year. We also take a look at report card scores that are built around different comprehension levels, both with fiction and nonfiction literature. And then lastly, for our kindergarten, first and second graders, we take a look at our ELA, which is also our early literacy assessment. To share some of our celebrations, right now at kindergarten, which is such an important level for us, we're really proud to say that 93% of our students are meeting those reading level goals. At second grade, we have great response with our early literacy assessment, which really shows that those students are ready to take that next step going into third grade. And next, in fourth grade, we had quite a few students coming in at really high levels. And so anytime we have students coming in at high levels, we always want to know, are they going to continue to grow? And we're really happy to say that our fourth graders are doing a great job with that. But along with that, we're also always taking a look at what areas can we improve on. We have a couple things we really noticed when we took a look at our data. Number one, we've got quite a discrepancy between the growth that we see in our MAP scores and also the growth that we see in our reading levels. And quite honestly, between the two of those, I'm actually happy to say that our reading level growth is actually much higher than our MAP growth. And the reason I'm happy about that, the fact that you have those 2 different measures, is that our MAP tests, as you know, really only give those 3 times during the year. They're really kind of a snapshot, moment in time type of an assessment, whereas our reading levels are measured throughout the year. So if I was going to have a discrepancy between those 2 things, I would be much more happy to see that our reading level growth is high. The other thing that we want to continually work on, though, is to work on the growth for our students that are significantly below where we want them to be according to those grade level benchmarks. One of the things that we're trying to do in the process of growing those readers is really presenting ourselves as a literacy-forward school. So we're looking forward to the opportunity, as we'll talk about later, to have more and more people coming through the hallways of Orchard Lane. But for our students right now, we want to make sure that as they go into their classrooms, as they take a look at their classroom libraries, as they walk through our halls, that we present ourselves, all of us, as readers, and we want to show the value that reading has for us as a school.
So in addition to our literacy goal, we also decided that we thought it was really important to make a community goal. And so what we did is we took a look and we analyzed the trends in our survey data from Orchard Lane the last 2 years. And the survey data was from staff, parents, and students. And we basically came up with a goal, and then how do we know if we're progressing and meeting the expectations we have set for ourselves, is we came up with different indicators, again, analyzing those trends where we thought, coming in as a new team, we probably need to really focus on these specific areas. And so what we're going to do here for the next few minutes is we're going to talk about some of the things that we've done, not only as a leadership team, but as a building, as a community, as far as trying to make sure we're growing in those areas. So building community with our staff. This last summer, Royce and I invited all staff, if they wanted to, voluntarily come in and meet with us or meet with us via a Google Meet and do what we call a 3-2-1 interview. And the 3-2-1 interview works this way. Basically, the staff member could ask us 3 questions. 3 questions: professional, personal, as a team, because we were a brand new team working together. Like, what 3 questions do you have of us? Then we went to basically 2 things. What 2 things would you like Royce and I to know about you? Whether that be on a professional level, whether it be a personal level. What else would it be also as a team, as a teacher who is just new to teaching, or as a teacher who's been in it for a while? So it was pretty much wide open. And then the last, the 1 stands for, what is one thing you would like us to focus on as a school this year, as a leadership team? Maybe, it's kind of been in place for a little while, maybe needs a little tweaking, needs a little bit of a change, or this thing is moving in a great direction, don't change anything. And so we did that. Another thing we've done is we thought it was really important, based off of the feedback we got, was that staff are doing some amazing things within our community, and we are recognized a lot by parents. We're recognized a lot by district administrators, but we don't recognize each other. And so what we put in place this year is what we call Starbursts. And so every week, when we have our weekly professional learning opportunities, we start off with a Starburst. You can recognize a colleague of yours for something that they've done, maybe to help you as a teammate, maybe something you've witnessed, them helping a student succeed, maybe something they've done out in the community. So we've done a couple things that way. Then we took a look at the surveys, the survey data from our students. And one of the things that we recognized was students really value the community piece, the getting along with others, the need to have friendships that are successful. And so a few years back, these staff members started kind of what they call the core values. And it has to do with like character education. And so the core values that they basically put in place were kindness, respect, responsibility, perseverance, and integrity. And so what we've done, the staff have asked us to keep that going and to actually grow it and make it even bigger. And so one of the things we've done is we have a monthly principal read in which we pick out a book, and either Mr. Lindner or myself will go into each classroom and we read the story, and the story will revolve around one of our core values. And afterwards we'll talk about it, like how did the character show kindness? But then we ask students to reflect, how have you shown kindness? How have your friends shown kindness? What have you done outside of school to show kindness? And it's more of a just kind of keep bringing those values back and really living them, not only inside our building, outside at recess, on the bus, and at home. And then what we do is we celebrate those core values. So when staff members see students demonstrating one of those values, they can earn a star ticket. And so when they get a star ticket, they put their name on the ticket and they drop it into their grade level star ticket box. And at the end of the week, we draw names for a little prize. But the one thing we did this year, you can see, and for those of you that have been in Orchard Lane, you know what hallway that is right off the office. That's a pretty big hallway. And we made these huge stars, 4 of them, 1 for each quarter. And every week after we get the star tickets drawn, what we do is we put them up and we try to fill the star. So happy to say that first quarter and second quarter, the students were very successful. And they earned basically an all-school award. Our first award for first quarter was what we call jukebox. And so classes could enter a song to Mr. Lindner, and throughout the course of 2 days, every so often, he would get on and he would be the DJ, and he would say, and coming to you from Mrs. La Rosa's kindergarten classroom is the song, and then we would play the song for a few minutes, and the kids were all excited. The second quarter, we did what was called lights out. And so each classroom could decide how do they wanted to spend that time with their lights out. Some students did flashlight reads. Some did dance party. They had we put, glow bracelets and things like that. Some did a movie, but it was really pretty neat to see as we walked through the hallways and the kids were just so excited. Third quarter, happy to say, it doesn't show it on there, but we did finish the third quarter right before spring break, and they have filled that star. And so what we'll be doing is taking some suggestions from staff members onto what our third quarter celebration will be.
Just to continue, looking at student and family engagement, there's been quite a few things that we've been able to do. Not everything we want to do, we've been able to do, but we're definitely looking forward to some more things in the future. But this year, we started out the year, we had our kindergarten Tears and Cheers celebration, which is kind of that first day drop-off experience for our kindergarten families. They still got a chance to do that. It wasn't looking quite the same, but they got to drop their children off at the outside doors. They got a chance to get some goodies and stick around and hear a little bit about what kindergarten is like at Orchard Lane and in the school district of New Berlin. So that was great for us to be able to do that. The meetings that we've had with our families this year, they've had to be virtual meetings, but they've been really nice because we've asked our families to give us some feedback on what are the things that they want to hear about. So we put out a Google form. Parents and families submitted those Google forms with the things they wanted Julie and I to speak to, and then we were able to set up the Google Meets and then invite all of our families in to be able to listen to those presentations. Just like with our staff, we were able to do 3-2-1 interviews with our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students to get a student perspective on the things that they would like to celebrate with Orchard Lane, and also some of the things that they would like to see us work on as building leaders. Not to forget our virtual students. I know Julie had mentioned the reading. We get a chance to read to our virtual classes, and that is the best. It is so wonderful to be able to see those students on screen. We want to keep those students close to us as a building, so we were able to actually to go out and we booed all of our virtual students and gave them a little bit of a treat and just a note to let them know that we're continually thinking of them. Most recently, we had a great opportunity to take that SABRS data that we got from our students and from our staff and take a really close look at what that data was telling us about our students and about how we can continually work to build connections for those students as they come either into the 4 walls of Orchard Lane or they attend virtually. One of the things that we've been really excited about is about in February, during Black History Month, we started doing these morning presentations where we'd actually have 6th graders come in and do lessons during our morning announcements. And those lessons really range from things that they could either be key people or key events in our history. And during that month, we actually decided, why stop there? Let's look at continuing this every single month. So during the month of March, we were able to focus on women's history. During the month of April right now, we're able to focus on Arab American history and also autism awareness. So we're just going to continue that because the reception has been fantastic. Our 6th graders have done a wonderful job, and it's something that we can do perennial, and really do it not only throughout the year, but keep on growing that opportunity for our students. Something new that we started this year as well is we had the opportunity to get access to a great module on anti-bullying, and we actually took that module access and we extended it into building out a coalition at our school. And a coalition includes not just staff, but also families and even students. So we're kind of coming together really with our goal of making sure that we have a common understanding of what bullying is, how it impacts us as a school, things that we can do to be proactive, and also responsive to it when we see it.
Another thing that we've done, we've all had to make some adjustments due to the current situation we're in. And just to give you a little idea, what used to happen is our sixth graders, as we approach the end of the year here, they would take a little field trip up to the middle school, and they'd get a tour around the building, and they'd meet some students, and they'd meet some of the staff. But over the last 2 years, obviously, that has had change. And so last year, the secondary staff from both buildings, they put together a little video for the students, and then it was sent out, kind of, the same thing, a little tour of the building, introduce some people, and so on. And this year, I have a little bit of a history with, being a former middle school, high school administrator, and I thought, we're going to do the video again. We won't be able to take the trip, but why couldn't we bring some people to us? And so I got approval from district level to have some of our key people come in and talk to our students. And we've been doing this now since January. We started with our associate principals from the 2 schools. They came in and just did a meet and greet. Here's who I am. Do you have any questions? This is what you have to look forward to. Our school counselors from the 2 schools have come down, met with the students. That's always happened. It's continuing to happen. The associate principals wanted to come back, and this time bring the athletic directors, because as you can imagine, 6th graders had a lot of questions about what kind of fun things can we do in middle school. And so they decided to bring down the athletic directors. In April here, our principals are going to come down to Orchard Lane and introduce themselves, kind of talk to them a little bit, get them excited for what's to come next year. And then in May, we're also going to bring in our school resource officers to introduce them, talk a little bit about their role, and then what kind of things they can get involved in that kind of coincide with some of the programs that the school resource officers run, like, for example, midnight basketball or summer volleyball, things like that. So, with that, what are our next steps? Well, like many of us, we hope that things are going to be different next year as far as some of the restraints that have been put on us. But one thing we are going to continue to do as a leadership team at Orchard Lane is we're going to continue to get feedback. And again, feedback from our stakeholders, which would be our parents, our students, and our staff. And so we've already done that with our staff. We have got mid-year feedback from them. We've made some adjustments based on some of the feedback we've gotten. And we're going to continue to get that feedback as we move into the end of the year, and then reach out to our parents and to our students as well.
One of the other steps we were able to take this year, and I'm really proud to say, is that we're able to actually take some of our money for our school and be able to invest it into adding some more diversity into our classroom libraries. We really want those things to be universal. We want our students, as they walk into the classroom, we want them to see themselves in the literature that surrounds them. So that's been really important for us, and we're really proud of what we've been able to build there. Looking at continual improvement, we tucked in a document that we worked on this year, and we talked about those 4 different indicators when it came to literacy growth in our school. What we actually worked on with Amy Stepneski as a team is we actually worked on some very specific steps we can take regardless of where students are performing in each of those indicators, as what can we do next? So if somebody is maybe like showing us that they have a low MAP score, well, what can we do? If they're showing us they have a low ELA score, what can we do there? So really some specific steps that we can be responsive to the needs that our students have. And also, we're really excited about the idea of kind of assemblies, bringing people together as soon as we can. And one of the things that we're excited to implement whenever we can is something known as learning walks. So learning walks, they might look a little different depending on where you are, but our idea of a learning walk is to be able to invite our stakeholders into Orchard Lane and be able to walk the halls with us, talk a little bit about what's happening within our school and within our district. Just really excited about the opportunity to really welcome our community and our families into Orchard Lane so they can really see what their kids experience every time they come to school. And with that, any questions?
I do want to just state that I think sometimes you don't know when you have transitions what that's going to look like. Royce requested the opportunity to go back into a building. Julie opted in to returning back to Orchard Lane to help Royce out because Royce needed it.
I do. I do.
And I'll tell you, because they were also vacating other spots too. And, so it's always this, what's the good and the bad of it. And what I can tell you is they have not only supported the transition in the positions that they left, they've, I believe, done a successful job and an incredible job of transitioning as a new leadership team into that building. They've shared the data with you, and again, there's work to be done. There's always work to be done. We are about continuous improvement. But what I will tell you is the culture and the climate of that school it's in a much different place than where it was. And that certainly says a lot, because if you don't have that culture and you don't have that climate, it'll make the rest of it that much more difficult. And so I just want to commend them for their leadership, the risk that they took because they were comfortable where they were at, and I can say that I think you guys made the right choice, because it's evident in the work that's happening and the things that are happening at Orchard Lane. So congratulations, and again, I know that you will continuously seek improvement in the areas that we need it in. We don't get it perfect all the time, but I will tell you they are putting their best foot forward with the staff, with the families, with the students. And that's kind of a common theme that I heard here from them, and I think that's been one of the key reasons of the shift, in my opinion. So with that, I guess, are there any questions? And if not, we'll be happy to move on.
I just wanted to comment on your 3-2-1. I love that. I'm going to borrow that and use it at work. So thank you. That sounds really effective.
It wasn't our idea.
Oh, well, thank you.
We stole it from someone else. It's been good. Thanks.
Excellent.
It really worked well.
That's fantastic.
The students, once they got into it, they kind of were like, oh, you want to hear what we have to say? So that was good. They didn't understand it at first until we kind of got them going. But.
Yeah, it's terrific. Exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just have a comment. This was a really great presentation. I appreciate, sharing more than just the test results. I feel like a lot of times that's what we're getting from the schools, but it really just paints a great picture of the things that are going on at Orchard Lane, and what you guys are doing kind of at all levels with the staff and the students and the parents. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to comment too, because I'm the only Orchard Lane parent up here, so I feel like I should. First, Joe, I want to agree with everything you said. So write that down.
Is that on the record?
I know. I just wanted you to know, write it down. Because I completely agree. I think that the climate and the culture of Orchard Lane, having had a child in that building since 2012. I think that the climate and the culture of that building has changed significantly, and I think that a lot of that success lies at your feet. And I'm pleased as punch that you have been willing to come into that building, because Orchard Lane kind of got a bad rap for the last few years. We kind of did. And not that there weren't a lot of wonderful people in that building at all times, which there have been, to be very clear. But I want you to know that I've heard from I know a lot of the teachers in that building because I've had kids in that building for a long time. And I hear from these teachers because they know that I'm on the board and I am involved in these things. And the reviews are very positive from the people I'm hearing from. So I think you should know that because it's important for you to know that what you're doing is resonating with people. And it's so important. And that good culture really does come from the top. And so when you guys are doing what you're doing, it has so much value and it's so important. And I'm personally grateful. I'm also grateful as a board member. And I'm grateful even when bad things happen, so when they happen on occasion, to hear about them. Because to be very honest with you, that's something that didn't happen before. You know, we didn't often hear about some of the bad things that happened. And when you have a kid like I've got, a kid who's nonverbal and can't tell me this crazy thing happened in my classroom today, I'm glad I know about it from you guys, you know, because I can't figure all that out on my own. And I think that other parents may not have kids that are as verbal as we would like them to be, even if they are verbal. So keeping those updates, good, bad, and indifferent, coming is so important. And I feel like it just reinforces the notion that we are all in the same boat. And we all have a common mission, and we all want to support each other. And I want to support what you do in whatever way I can. And I appreciate you guys supporting my child and all the kids in that building because they all need you so desperately. And thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we will be discussing and approving the social studies resources recommendation. Do you have any presentation prior to our motion?
I do not have a presentation.
Okay. There were a bunch of questions, but I guess we could discuss that after our motion. So do I have a motion to approve the social studies resources recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Helmer, second by Mr. Kurth. All those in favor, any discussion?
I just want to give a quick thank you to Joe and the administration for answering all of the questions that I had. I appreciate that additional information.
And I wanted to second that too, because I had a few questions also from my review, and I appreciate you guys taking all the time that it took to answer those questions. That's really helpful.
And just so the board is aware, I know that Amy did have questions that were answered at the time. I did believe we did have administrators around. Janet, same thing. So I think they were really good questions. I think it's great that, this is one of those big things that the board does is determine our curricular resources. And so we appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the questions. And again, we recommend approval of the social studies resources that had been presented for approval.
Anything else? I noticed that it was in the packet, the questions and answers. Can we make that public so everybody knows what the questions and answers were? Okay. So if there's no other discussion, then we will, do you have something to share? I'm sorry. Okay. Then we will take the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, we will discuss and approve the West Multipurpose Room remodel.
So for those of you that aren't aware, the old gym over at New Berlin West has a balcony. And that balcony is actually opened. And so it's not been as easy to use as we would like because of the fact that the balcony is open. And so we had planned, and per board policy, anything over $25,000 needs to be brought to the board for approval. But we had planned on actually closing off that opening so that we can utilize that space for multi-purpose. So gym classes will be able to use it more because not only will it be walled, it'll be padded. So if you go to any of our gym areas or multi-use areas, you're going to see padding along the side. It also helps us free up opportunities for our students. We do get congestion during some of the sports seasons. You know, you've got your wrestling, your cheer, and your dance that are all competing for a certain spot because they have to have matting for some of the things that they do. And so this frees up more of that opportunity, not only for our own internal groups, also for gym classes, but also now for external groups, so that we can get more people in and not having people like, for example, you've got like a youth wrestling team that'll start practice like at 8 o'clock at night because that's when they can get in there, you know. So again, do want to clarify that the dollars are not coming out of the general fund. They'll be coming out of Fund 21. We did go out to bid. Low bid was KPH Construction for $27,300. And then we also have the matting in the floors that came in for $36,000 from 2 different groups. So the total with a contingency is a project of $66,500, and we recommend approval of the project for this multi-purpose room remodel as presented.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the West multipurpose room remodel?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Kurth. Any discussion?
What is Fund 21 again? Is that the community fund?
That's a special projects fund. So dollars that have been raised over the course of years for what would normally be a non-budgeted item, so.
Anything else?
I know mats are really expensive, and I'm in support of this, but can you guys just take a second glance at that and just make sure that we do our due diligence to make sure that we're getting the best deal on that?
I had the same question about the mats.
I know they're not cheap.
Yeah. But I think part of the issue, unfortunately, is a supply chain issue. So you're dealing with a certain material, and unfortunately, the material that we're talking about inflates it. Just like, you know, we were actually, Diana and I were just talking about, you know, for example, like a hot tub cover. I need a new hot tub cover. It's like a 4-month wait, and then they're going to charge me like an extra $200 than what it was worth last year. So I think that's part of it. Patrick?
And I would agree that is part of it. Another issue is because we are dedicating this room where we're going to have mats that are just down, it allows us to spend some extra dollars and get mats that are going to last for, with proper maintenance, up to 20 years before they have to be replaced. We could spend fewer dollars, but you know, again, you're going to get what you pay for on this. And since this is a room that's up in a balcony, we felt that it was a wiser use of district funds to get the material that's going to last, simply because we can put these mats down and we don't have to roll them up and move them around.
So these will remain down at all times then? Because I know like in the cheer area and above the stage,
Correct.
that stuff's
Correct.
moving constantly. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. And that's one of the benefits of doing this project.
Thanks. Yeah, if you can just take a second glance at it. I know that's the big expensive piece of this. I mean, it's more than the construction piece of it, but I know that they are very expensive, so I appreciate it.
Well, if there's no other discussion, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Then we have discuss, approve policy 5630, corporal punishment. That could have been made public, I believe, on the public. So going forward, if we can make policies public so people can see it ahead of time.
Yep, that was my ear.
Okay. And mine too. I usually try to review it to make sure things are out there, and I forgot myself as well.
Those would also be in one of the facility or personnel committee meetings too. Would that be in the agenda? I was thinking about
Actually, most likely. I'd have to go back and look and make sure. Again, sometimes I think it's just an oversight we forget.
Yeah, it should still be.
It should be in those. So then, this was Corporal punishment was something that was done,
Personnel committee
Personnel
brought it
Committee
forward.
brought it forward, right. So we don't
Again-
need a second on it. We just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy as presented.
Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Discuss approved superintendent job description. This was also brought forward by the Personnel Committee. Kate, do you have anything you want to share about it?
Not really anything additional. I mean, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, we pulled the bullet points from the Neola policy, and the top items were mostly recommendations from Nicole with a few tweaks by the Personnel Committee, and then the subsequent core competencies and qualifications are kind of standard on all of our job descriptions.
Okay, since this was also brought forward by the Personnel Committee, all we need is a motion.
I move that we approve the superintendent job description as presented.
Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Can we clarify the other duties as assigned? Just kidding.
Everything.
I think I was assigned to be in charge of that, so you'll be hearing from me.
Oh, and then the next is a first read of policy 7250, commemoration of school facilities. And this was brought forward by the Finance Committee. So Chrislyn, do you have anything you want to share about it for a first read?
No, it was unanimous in the Finance Committee that we bring this forward. We didn't have language that addressed it in this more modern fashion, so that's one of the reasons why we brought it forward.
Okay, so there's no vote tonight. This will be voted on next time. In the same case for first read on policy 7530, lending of district-owned equipment, which was also brought forward by the Finance Committee.
Right, and like the previous policy, this was our policy surrounding this topic previously had included things like the use of driver's ed cars and things like that we just don't have anymore. So it's just a real outdated policy. So we looked to the Neola policy, which more suited what our needs were surrounding this issue.
So we'll be voting on this as well at the next meeting. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can direct those to Chrislyn. Action on items discussed in closed session. So we do have two.
I have one of them.
Yes, and we have Susan doing her last motion.
No, my last one. I move to approve the employment services report as presented.
So we have a motion by Ms. Manley and a second by Mr. Kurth. Since we discussed in closed session, so we'll go straight to vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. And then we have our second one. That was on the non-renewal, or was that something we're not doing tonight?
I think that was included in that.
Oh, it was included? Okay, so that was part of that, all right. Then I'll just remind everybody of the future meetings and dates. Board meetings are generally held the second and fourth Monday, beginning at 7:00 p.m. in the Eisenhower Commons, unless noted otherwise. On April 13th, the Board of Canvassers will be meeting for the election canvass at 8:30 a.m. in District Office Conference Room A. Then on April 26th, we have our board reorganizational meeting. Board meeting after that is May 10th, and another one May 24th. Just a reminder that we still are doing the health questionnaire before you enter the building. And right now, the Commons capacity is still limited to 25 visitors, if I'm correct on that. And face masks are still required per our district policy, and please observe social distancing. So next, I need a
Diana, I'm
motion.
sorry.
Sorry,
I
go
had a
ahead.
question about the future meetings and dates. I did see Diana emailed both of us about the Finance Committee meeting on the 26th.
Mhm.
Is that on the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have not replied to all. So I said
Yeah.
no for now. So I might as well mention the plan is on May 10th, we're going to have a work session. And it's going to focus strictly on the committees going forward and laying out the plan for the committee meetings for the rest of the year. At that point, we'll also be appointing chairs of each of the committees and deciding as a board where we want to go forward per our new policy that we did for committees. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
So then I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll let her do it.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good evening. And thank you, Susan.